So I recently went on a lunch date with a person who shared with me what a challenge it's been looking at his stocks over the last month. This was a person who lost more money recently in the stock market than I can imagine I would ever accumulate in a few lifetimes. So you can imagine how much money he has total in the stock market if this is the amount that he lost. And I asked him, I said, give me your advice. How do you not feel anxious when you see that big loss on paper? How does it not eat you up or take away your sleep? And he said to me, you have to understand, I'm an older person. I've gone through many, many years of having money in the stock market. And I've had experiences where I've seen the stock market go up, go down. I've been through the dot-com bust. I've lived through the mortgage crisis. And I always know that, yeah, even though those times can be incredibly stressful, but if you just hang on long enough, the stock market will recover. Not only will it recover, it will actually go up. And that's the way I'm able to keep my cool. That's the way I'm able to not feel anxious. And I thought that was very interesting. And I thought about it and I said, well, that's a very, very interesting insight. And we got on and we continued our lunch date and I shared with him some words of Torah. And afterwards, as if to juxtapose the Torah that I just taught him, he said, Rabbi, you have to understand reality. Reality, Rabbi, you have to understand. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, put these things together and tell me what they mean. Number one, Moses gets the tablets and he throws them down and they're destroyed. Number two, Solomon builds the temple. That gets destroyed. Number three, a second temple is built. That too is destroyed. Number four, the Jews are exiled to Babylon and to other lands. Number five, the Crusades, pogroms, Holocausts, and so on and so forth. 5, 6, 7, 8. That's reality. And what does that teach you, he said to me? It teaches you that either God doesn't care about humankind, or at the least, we are not the chosen people. So I thought about it for a moment, and I told him, I said, you missed one crucial historical insight, and that is, we're still here. It's true Moses' tablets were destroyed. It's true that the temples were destroyed. It's true that the Jews have been terribly oppressed throughout history. But we're still here. And then I told him, remember the conversation we just had about the stock market. Imagine if I were to turn to you, a seasoned stock market pro, and tell you, what are you telling me that the stock market's a good place to put your money? Don't you know about the dot-com bust? Don't you know about the mortgage crisis? Don't you know about the Great Depression? Don't you know about all these times where the stock market has collapsed? Look at right now with coronavirus, stocks being down 20, 25%. It's horrible. Can't put your money in stocks. That's reality. Imagine if I were to tell that to you. You could reasonably look back at me and say, you've got it all wrong. It's true that those terrible crises happened, but what shows the sustainability of the stock market is that it always comes back, it always recovers, and it always thrives after these terrible crises. So too is it with the Jewish people. We're still here. And he looked at me and he said, in the Haggadah every year, we say, V'hi she'amda l'avosenu, this covenant that God made with us, that the Jewish people are his chosen people, that we will always be around. Shebechol dor v'dor omdim aleinu l'chalosenu. In every generation, people try to destroy us. V'kadosh baruch hu matzilenu miyadam, but God saves us from their hand. Every single generation, we have a crisis. And every single generation, God ensures that the Jewish people continue. We experience tragedy, but we also experience redemption. We also experience triumph. Unlike the thousands of nations that existed during the times throughout the Jewish people's history and have risen to great glory and then fallen to nothingness and complete abandon, the Jewish people are still here. That's what shows the staying power of the Jewish people. That's what shows Hashem's special touch and care for the Jewish people. So when we sit here on Pesach night, we can think about this story that I had, this lunch date with this elderly fellow. Like the stock market, the Jewish people have had many terrible experiences, but like the stock market, we're an incredibly safe and great investment because with God's help, we always bounce back, and Hashem promises we will always be around. Chag Kasher V'Sameach.